Hey, this is Matt Urtz, your Madison County historian. We are still working on documenting how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted different businesses and organizations. Today, we are talking to Hank Leo Jr., who is the director of the Oneida YMCA. Hank, thanks for being with us.
You're welcome, Matt. Nice to see you.
So for those that aren't familiar, can you kind of explain what the YMCA does and the role it plays in the community?
Sure. Well, I'm the CEO of the YMCA of the Greater Tri-Valley, which includes the Rome Y, the Oneida Y, and our New Hartford Y. So the Rome Y is celebrating its 149th year this year, and our Oneida Y is uh, just about, 1992. So, 30 years close to. And in New Hartford, we run a before and after school uh, program in 10 different school districts and serve a significant number of kids in that area. We operate out of Zion Lutheran Church on French Road. So combined, the YMCA serves thousands of people in central New York. And I'm also part of the YMCA Alliance of New York State, which encompasses all of the Ys in our state. I believe we have 38 Ys that I'm on the board of directors for, and collectively we work together on many issues, programs, and opportunities.
Okay. So talk a little bit about when COVID-19 kind of appeared on your radar and what your initial response was.
Well, I remember it was Friday the 13th, if that helps. It was March 13th, and we received a call in our New Hartford branch that the schools were closing there. And we knew that the pandemic had just begun, but when schools closed, we knew that was going to be a real concern, because we run all the before and after school programs in most of the elementary schools in our communities. Those include Oneida, VBS, Whitesboro, Stockbridge, Rome, and a lot of the surrounding areas, Holland Patton, Westmoreland. And when those schools out there closed, within an hour, we got a call that Oneida closed, Rome closed, and that entire program was shut down. We had 300 kids enrolled in that program daily. So that was the first blow, which we knew that it was serious. But to be honest with you, we thought it was probably going to be a couple of weeks. I remember our staff internally talking about it and saying, this may not be so bad. It may not be as severe as it sounds. Within a couple of weeks, we'll be back up. And then on the 15th is when the governor shut down our industry, and we remained shut down for gym types of programs, which is a lot of what we do for the next 6.5 months. However, we did continue to serve the community as an essential childcare location in Rome, Oneida, and New Hartford. And we had probably 25 to 30 kids being served daily. But then the Ys were closed, and the only thing operating was our school-age childcare program. So I immediately had to furlough 250 of our 260 employees, which was a difficult day for me. These included a lot of full-time, long-standing employees that had dedicated their lives and career to the Y, and we just didn't have the ability to continue to pay them. We were already operating on a shoestring budget prior to COVID, and when we were shut down, it made it very, very difficult even to meet the payroll for 10 people.
So talk a little bit about what were the programs that were allowed to continue. You said childcare, but how many people did you serve in that moment? Did you take on more? And what did you have to do to stay open?
So we reached out to the community and asked the schools. I remember having a Zoom call with, this was back when Zoom was brand new, right? So we had a Zoom call with all the superintendents in our area, and they said, we really don't know what we need yet, but we know that a lot of people are going to need care. We just aren't sure if we're going to reopen, when we're going to reopen, and what format we're going to reopen. But so at the Ys, we just started our regular program that we would normally have after school, but during school. We had to buy some stuff. We had to improve our IT and our hotspots so that if we were going to be able to offer virtual learning opportunities, that our buildings weren't ready for those, and we had to be able to do that. And at that time, a lot of guidelines were coming out. There was childcare guidelines, no more than 15 in a room, and we were trying to space kids out, and we were trying to make sure that we had space available. So it meant shifting around a lot of our stuff. We couldn't operate any of our programs, which included all of the wellness center areas, the gym, the pool, saunas, steam rooms. All of those were shut down from March 15th all the way through until August, middle of August. And throughout that time, we had been, planning our future. How is our future going to look? How are we going to survive? What kinds of programs could we run and operate even if we're closed? So we began looking at outdoor programs, like, how do we put Zumba in the parking lot? How do we run archery? And we moved archery to a church, and we had Pilates, yoga, spinning. We were wheeling bikes out into the circle around the front of the Y, and instructors would come in and spray them down, and then after class, bring them back in. And if you remember back in the beginning in March, there was a lot of focus on surface transfer of the virus, which doesn't seem to be the case very much so anymore. It's much more, airborne. But at the time when it was surface driven, it was touching every handle and we couldn't have a vending machine. We couldn't have water fountains. As soon as something was touched, it had to be sprayed down. One of the most challenging things that we had to do was to install MERV 13 filters in all of our HVAC systems, which was difficult because when you're retrofitting old systems with a very thick filter, it's not as easy as it seems. It's not like you just take one out and put in a new one. There was danger involved because thick filters can back up your systems and potentially create fires. At the same time, we wanted to be extra safe, so we invested in purchasing halo air purification units in the vent systems. So while we were closed down, we installed these air purification systems that actually disinfected the air coming into the building and killed the virus. It was known to kill the coronavirus as well as flu and colds, and we wanted to go an extra measure and do that. Remember, at the time, we had no idea when we were going to reopen. So then businesses started to reopen, and we were hopeful. We would always hear, this business is going to open, this business is going to open, restaurants are going to be able to open. And then the Y and gyms were never on that list. So we made it through phase 1 not opening, phase 2 not opening, phase 3 opening. It looked like we were going to be in phase 3. And then phase 4 came, and we said, finally, we're going to be open because there's only 4 phases. And then initially the governor came out and said, gyms are not safe to reopen, and they are in the same category as malls and movie theaters, which, we knew internally that we were much safer than those entities because we had done a lot of work. And we also know this, that people who are healthier fight the virus better. We were concerned deeply about our senior members. My mom and your mom come to mind, and senior members need the social aspect of being at the Y. They need to be around other people. They need to be healthy. A lot of them depend on the Y for, especially the pool, for loosening up the joints, and anybody who's had hip or knee replacements, canes, walkers, wheelchairs, people that need extra time and help. That's where the Y's niche really is. And when that's shut down, a lot of people really struggled to connect. We started calling our members and asking them what they needed, and they just kept saying, we need you to reopen. We need you to reopen. from a statewide perspective, the Ys really went to work advocating for us to become reopened. And we were, I remember reporting our statistics almost daily to be collected and to be shared with the state government to let them know that we are safe. When gyms were finally allowed to be reopened, it was with a 33% maximum capacity, 6-foot distancing, and masking at all times. I remember when we received word that Massachusetts opened before New York for gyms, and the distancing was 12 feet requirement. So as you can imagine, we said, wait a minute, 12 feet, that's like every third treadmill or every fourth treadmill. How many people can we serve? If all of these rooms are shut down and we have to move programs around. So what we did was we continued to do as much outdoors during the nice weather as possible. If there was one good thing about last summer, it was that the weather was pretty cooperative, and summer lasted longer.
Summers in a while.
It was one of the nicest summers ever. So we were able to keep doing programs outdoors, which was great. And but then when the weather, we talked about it over and over again. As soon as we get our first cold spell, where's everybody going to go? And we had to put signs throughout the building. We had to prep our staff. We had to be careful how many staff we brought back and in what capacity. And their jobs would change. It would be from where it used to be that you were an instructor. Now you're a cleaner, you're a disinfector, and you're an instructor, and you're probably going to be a counselor too, with people that need extra time and help. And but it worked out okay. And to flash forward to today, which is January 20th, we've lost just about 4,000 of our 9,000 members.
Wow.
And when I say lost, I mean they've either terminated, put their membership on hold, or are not yet ready to come back. 4,000 out of 9,000 is significant. It's a threat and a challenge to the YMCA as a whole. We spent our first 148 years trying to convince everyone that the Y is not a gym, that we are much more than a gym. We're a child care center. We're a resource for the community. We host hundreds of blood drives. We do a lot as a community partner to many other organizations. But in this case, to be a gym meant you were going to be shut down for a long time. That after losing that many, remember, as we started the conversation, we lost close to 300 kids in our before and after school program, and then to lose, a significant portion of our membership, our livelihood was in jeopardy. I think the thing that got us through was a lot of hard work and teamwork and faith and partnerships with other organizations, a dedicated board and a dedicated staff. And I always remember, when I know my YMCA history that you've helped me with over the years. The Y survived World War I, World War II, the Great Depression. I imagine the CEOs of those Ys felt the way I did this year. I'm sure they questioned whether or not they were going to be around or whether the Y was going to be around, but thankfully for them and for our team here that they didn't give up, didn't give in, and they continued following their mission. And, we did the same thing. We wanted to be a resource to the community. We held blood drives during the pandemic. We opened our doors to as many groups as needed us. And so far, so that was, the end of the year. The first part of January 2021 has been good. The terminations have stopped. The renewals have come back. We're getting lots of people coming in and starting to, be less fearful because the vaccine is beginning to roll out. And I think people feel a little bit of a sense of security. Also, people need to feel connected to each other, and they need to be around other people. It's not like you can ride your bike at home in your treadmill at home all the time. Although those are good to stay in shape with, you got to be around other people and supportive people that care about you and care about your well-being. And that's what the Y is all about. So we're starting to see a real positive turn, and I'm happy about that. And I'm really encouraged by it.
So you kind of led into this. How do you think this is going to change the YMCA moving forward?
Well, we've reimagined the way we do business. I can tell you this. So over the past 6 months, our largest program has been archery. It's not water aerobics. It's not Zumba. It's archery. Why? Archery is one of those things you can distance safely. You can spread out. The entire family can do it and do it together. In other words, we've changed the way we're doing our programming. We put out a survey yesterday to our membership to ask what kinds of programs they would be interested in. You'd be surprised, Matt. Number one was weight loss programs. That might not be a surprise, but number two was sewing and knitting. And number, three was small group exercise, followed by Reiki, Pilates, yoga, meditation, more of the holistic medicines and the holistic programming approach, which is right up our alley. We've, always done those types of programs, but now we know that there's more of a leniency towards something a little different. It may be a while before you'll see a full court basketball game at the Y or a full court volleyball game, but I can tell you pickleball has exploded. It has. And in the pool, you can kind of distance, you can get 6 feet apart. You can only have 10 in a group at a time, but swimming lessons will come back. I don't see us playing, racquetball in any time soon. I don't see the saunas opening or steam rooms. They're just too risky at this point. But, other than those, we'll find other ways. We also have such an incredible virtual childcare program now. Right now, you can drop off your child, your grade school child at the Y. They can get schooling at the Y. Their teacher connects with them virtually in a classroom setting. So for working parents, if you work at, got to go to work at 7:30, you drop off your son or daughter at the Y, they get a snack, they get taken care of, they get to blow off a little steam, they take their school, after school, they get to do some activities, and then their parents come and pick them up after. So that program has done very well. We've got about 65 to 75 in that program on a regular basis. It's a good program.
So you kind of referenced the sewing isn't surprising, only because we've done, gosh, it's got to be pushing 80 of these interviews now. And there's 2 or 3 businesses that actually, that's what they did. They just converted their offices to sewing machines and went to work. So I was somewhat surprised, but that's, makes sense. Plus, as you said, it's something you can kind of do, especially the ones that are really talented, seem to be able to do it when they're not looking at all. Just the hands are moving and they're having conversations and not paying any attention.
I think 25 out of the 86 responses that I got yesterday were for a book club, for the Y to start a book club, which you and I know something about. So,
yep. Yeah, well, and again, I think just what you said, it's people trying to find something that they enjoy and find others that enjoy it with them. Because I know some of the writers clubs around the area have gotten more people in the pandemic because people are sitting down and writing. And we actually put out a call at the beginning for folks if they wanted to journal during the pandemic and donate it to us afterwards. We won't open them till we're all long gone, but that's a great way. And we had a couple of classrooms do that. A couple of schools had their elementary schools specifically had their kids do it for about 3 weeks. It's real early on, which was a unique reading experience. But
for me though, Matt, it doesn't take away though from the need for especially kids to get outdoors and be active and to play and to remember they've been cooped up for a long time, and with school sports being sort of shut down at times and phys ed classes being virtual. Some of our best programs this summer were getting kids in the woods and doing archery with them, breathing fresh air, getting away from a trapped room, getting away from video games, getting away from the computer and screen time. And that goes true for adults too. How much screen time have we done in the past 7-8 months? and how much do we need to get outdoors and to be physically active. One thing we don't want to happen after COVID or during COVID is for obesity to be on the rise, and for, diabetes to be on the rise, and all the other challenging health, factors that contribute to people dying from it. It's just as important to remain physically active during COVID as it ever was.
If people wanted to join or get more information on the YMCA, any of them, Oneida, Rome, New Hartford, how could they do that?
So our website is www.ymcatривalley.org.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today. Look forward to seeing what you come out with next, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.